I'm going to talk about kind of where, how do you actually launch a hemp drink in the market, and also a THC from what we've done in the past 2 years. By way of introduction, my name is Ken Vandevrede, CEO of Hillview. We're based out of New Jersey. We're a cannabis company. We have a license in New Jersey, and we also own a license in Nevada. So we've been in the space a while. My background comes from commercial agriculture. Our family's been in the space for about 60 years. We occupy 30 million square feet of high-tech greenhouses around the country. What I mean by high-tech greenhouse growing is controlled environment where we're growing bedding plants, mums, poinsettias, leafy greens, and we're shipping to supermarkets around the country, Home Depot, Lowe's, Costco. We pretty much touch all those distribution points. So that's really where our background comes from. I'm third generation, and so our family really understands the plant. We really understand genetics on any different kind of plant that's out there, but really understanding distribution model. In 2010, we moved into the cannabis space out of Colorado, Nevada, and California, where we merged one of our leafy greens divisions into Terra Tech, which is one of the first public traded cannabis companies out of California. We really wanted to get in space to understand the cannabis plant from the cultivation side, but more importantly, the extraction side of what happens when you grow this plant and you extract some extract out of it, and how do you bring that to market. So I spent 7 years from 2010 to 2017 building out Nevada and California from the cultivation of just medical cannabis, which then moved over to adult use. But really got to understand the extraction side of it, from butane, propane, CO2, all the different oil substance that comes out of the cannabis plant, and then put in some kind of form factor that the consumers would enjoy, right? So edibles, vapes, and how consumers would use those products. And after spending a lot of time in the Bay Area, in Oakland, California, and really understanding all these different processes, toward the late of my stay at Terra Tech, I was like, there has to be a better way where consumers would get the same effect by consuming a product and get the same result all the time, like alcohol, like a coffee. And so in 2017, I left the company, come back to New Jersey, where that was the time when President Trump signed a farm bill where it allowed hemp products to go to market, but also New Jersey was becoming on with an East Coast with the cannabis. So we partnered with Arup Sen, which had a technology called APP technology, which is basically an aqueous phyto recovery process where it literally takes the water-soluble molecules out of the cannabis biomass or hemp biomass and puts it's in a water-soluble state. We do not use solvents, so that's kind of where, after doing a lot of R&D, we really got to understand that there is a path to have this fast onset and and have a feeling very quickly. Is this the clicker? Yes. Is it working? Can you go next slide, please? So why beverages? So when I came home to New Jersey and we were really trying to figure out what's the next phase of cannabis products, we looked around the market. There were zero beverages that actually tasted good and that consumers were really drawn to. Really on the CBD side, because THC beverages were really not out there yet. They were, but they were in a very elixir form. So we set out on an R&D project to launch a beverage in the market. And really, what is driving the consumers? Well, if you look back, the big seltzer push, right? People were going from beer to seltzer, and that came out of nowhere. Because people wanted a cleaner way of drinking alcohol. They wanted something different. You have this new push in California called Cali Sober. You have plant-based beverages. You got functional beverages that this new generation and also women over 55 are looking for something that's non-alcohol or less alcohol. So, but cannabis was not delivering that effect where it was replacing an alcohol drink. So we spent a lot of time understanding data, understanding what was out there, and really took a playbook out of the seltzers. And we set out to, how do you produce a clean tasting product that has a consistent onset and it tastes good? And that's really what we set out to do. Can we go to the next slide? So the data before on the two other speakers were talking about in cannabis products, 30 billion, 20 billion, whatever the number is, 2% of sales are in cannabis drinks. You see growth in 2019 to 2021, cannabis beverages on the hemp side, CBD side, and also the THC side. You got legacy markets, Colorado, California, Nevada, the West Coast. They're seeing significant increases in cannabis beverage because they've been in the space, so they're ahead of the East Coast. So everywhere you look, you're starting to see CBD hemp beverages in the traditional distribution route that are becoming more and more acceptable. You'll see them at grocery stores, you're seeing them at delis, and then on the THC side, you're seeing them in dispensaries. Next slide, please. So this journey started like 4 years ago to what's the future and where the consumers are looking for. And as we worked with our R&D process of our water-soluble technology, we came to the conclusion that beverage is the future of cannabis products. And how do you deliver this product where consumers are going to want to move over into the cannabis space? Attract the new cannabis customers is the number one, right? Our consumers in the cannabis space today are consumers that are not consuming cannabis. That is going to be the biggest growth. But how do you get those in? If someone has never smoked or never took an edible or anything like that, they're not going to try cannabis and come into smoking. They're going to try it through some kind of form factor that they're used to, and that's beverages. Beverages is the most consumed, is the number one consumed product of a form factor that people use: coffee, tea, alcohol beverages. But the issue also is having a consistent product. We can put these products in market, but if the consumer tries a brand, no matter what brand it is, and they taste it, and if it doesn't taste good, they're moving on to the next one. It's the same on the hemp side and also the THC side. Consistent product is key for us as an industry to really have significant growth on the cannabis beverage sector. And of course, social. People are not, like I think the speaker before me said, they're not going to sit around eating gummies for hours, but people will continue to drink no matter what it is in a social setting. And that is something that we as a cannabis drinks have to understand, and those takeaways if we really want to bring a lot of consumers that are not consuming cannabis into the cannabis space. Next slide, please. You can go to the next one. Next slide, please. So what's the opportunity in the cannabis space in beverages? Number one is taste. If the beverage that we're putting into market, if it doesn't taste good, consumers 100% are moving to the next brand. That is the reason why consumers will try several drinks, but they're going to find one that it tastes really good. Efficacy and water solubility. I really would like to take a step back here and discuss water solubility. Our technology that's on the market today spent a lot of R&D process. Basically what we do is we use biomass, either cannabis or hemp, and our extraction process is a solventless process that pulls out the water-soluble molecules of the biomass. In the hemp, it's basically oil-cannabinoids, terpenes, vitamins, minerals, and we end up with an extraction that is on the hemp side and totally an extract that's hemp federally legal. On a THC, we're using cannabis biomass, and when we use the same process, we're pulling the THC out in a water-soluble molecule. When I say by a water-soluble molecule is not an oil. So there's everything that's on the market is oil. So basically, it's either coming from some kind of solvent, butane, propane, CO2, ethanol, alcohol, but you end up with this oil that's distillate. And then what you're trying to do is there's a lot of tech out there using nano emulsions to take that, to make that oil into micro billion particles and put that into a beverage. But at the end of the day, you're trying to take oil and to put it in beverages. The onset, 20, 30, 40 minutes, depending on the brand. And also it's a lot of masking it, and you end up with that film in your mouth where it's unpleasant. So going back to the first point, taste is number one. Our extraction process allows for our water-soluble molecule to very cleanly go into water, our beverage, and therefore when you taste it, you do not get that feel, and our product tastes really good. And then we have launched in the beer distribution channel with several brands over the last 18 months. We've launched with one brand and we launched with 6 brands depending on what market. And ultimately we have a lot of our marketing team going there. So why are we selling better than everyone else? And the first thing that consumers say is, you guys taste better. And that's ultimately the goal of a beverage. So the secondary is basically efficacy. We're all talking about a product that is out there, CBD, CBG, THC, but what is the consumer getting out of this? They want to drink something and get an effect from it, whatever you're trying to deliver. And if you're not getting that effect to the customer, they're going to move on to something else. So taste number one, and making sure that what you're saying you're delivering in a consistent basis to the customer. And then the last point I want to touch on is pricing. If we're going to build a cannabis drink similar to the alcohol, where billions of dollars, pricing is number one. You look around the market today on the hemp CBD side, you have brands out there that are $7, $8, $9 a drink. That's unsustainable. The consumer can't spend $9 for a hemp or CBD drink. Even on the THC side, you see some that are $7, $8, $9 in dispensaries. We have to be more, the pricing over the next, I would say within the next year or two, has to move more toward like a premium RTD drink in the alcohol side, right? Your High Noons of the world, your little premium RTDs as tequila, that's where the price needs to be. We've launched our Kalo drink, our hemp drink, at $4.99 retail. Very quickly, we did market research. It's selling very well, but $3.99, it sells twice as much, because consumers, there's a price that consumers are looking for. And if we can get to a price similar to a little premium to alcohol, we're definitely going to see volume starting moving. But $5, $6, $7 drinks on hemp and or THC side is way too expensive. Go to the next slide, please. Next one, please. So again, there's a lot of, basically, as we develop this industry, we have to look to the food. We have to look to alcohol. What's happening there is products are made or manufactured in GMP facilities, right? So when in our family's agriculture company, we're growing organic greens, we're growing organic basil, all different things like that. Basically, one of the third party is called GFSI, where third party bodies come in and they inspect your crop, making sure what you're doing at that crop level it's a third party certified, right? You have USDA organic. That's very well known that a third party comes in, make sure all your inputs are organic, right? We got C of A's. Everyone knows what a C of A is, but half these C of A's in the market are not even real. Kosher, right? You kosher on there. That's a big market. Then you have a third party coming in. So consumers, just like food, just like they're buying vitamins, just like local food, whatever it is, consumers want transparency. They want to know where their product is coming from. And more importantly, I think they want it from the United States. With all what's going on in the world today, is they want to make sure that their product is coming from the United States. Vegan's another big one. So third-party validation that your product you're putting on shelf give consumer peace of mind that it's coming from somewhere that a third-party body came into your facility and tested it. Next slide, please. So I spoke a lot about the taste profile, the water solubility form of it, but going to market. right? The gentleman before me talked about a lot of regulations, what's happening, how do you go to market, different states are different things, and even on the THC side. We've launched Kalo, which is our hemp infused seltzer. We launched about 18 months ago, and we chose to go to market through the beer and spirits distribution. Number one, that's the only market that we could actually, that you could launch a hemp or CBD drink in right now. Our product is on the desk of Walmart right now, on Target, on Whole Foods. They are just not moving in the space. Why? Because it's regulated. The whole gray area from the federal government is still hanging out there. So a lot of these big supermarkets are not moving into the space yet. So we chose a path where the likes of Southern Glacier and Breakthrough, these big spirit brands are moving in, and also beer distribution channels moving in. So distribution is number one. If you don't have distribution, beverages is the hardest product to do, to basically go to consumer on an e-commerce route. You're going to do fine at the beginning of it, but beverages they're big, they're heavy, and it's hard to bring that product to market by yourself. We chose to go to the market, like I said, with our hemp product through a three-tier system. Basically, we're shipping to distributors, and they're shipping to stores. On a THC, which we're currently launching in Maine, we've, of course, chosen a two-tier system, which is the only choice, is through a license holder, and that particular license holder ships to dispensary, just like a lot of other brands that are in the market are doing. That's considered a two-tier. But the THC cannabis drinks infrastructure is really not built yet. You're looking around all these other states. It's difficult. You need a co-packer in every state. You need someone to, either you're going to do it or you're going to have a co-packer. Then infrastructure and trucks to get that product to dispensary is another problem that's happening in the market. And then when you go to a dispensary, there's minimal refrigerators in there. There's minimal spaces for beverage. There's minimal storage for these drinks. So the infrastructure on the THC side really needs to be built out as well. Right now, the hemp CBD side is in a three-tiered distribution, and the cannabis THC is in a two-tier system. Next slide, please. Speaking from experience, when we launched Kalo, we would go into these meetings with all the CEOs, the presidents of companies. We would get them across the finish line. You can take this product. There's minimal risk here. But the biggest issue is education. We would go into these meetings, and the terms marijuana, hemp, CBD, THC, CBG would all get thrown around, and everyone was just mixing all these terms, and no one really knew what was going on. They didn't even know the legality on the hemp side. They didn't know the legality on the CBD side, the THC. Half of them thought we were bringing THC side. So if one thing we have a huge barrier to cross is product education. Not only product education at the sales distribution level, is we're spending so much time dumbing down our scripts and getting them to where their sales team, because when you're going into a distribution channel, you have to educate anywhere from 30 to 100 different salespeople that are getting their data from the internet or on what hemp, CBD, THC, marijuana product drinks are. So education is number one, just to get that product into that store, for the store owner to buy that product from the distribution. And we see it on the THC side as well. The THC side, you're going into a dispensary and you're trying to educate the bud tenders or the owners of the company why your product, why a beverage instead of a vape, why beverage instead of an edible, why this, and just the education part of it is a huge barrier that we continually come up against, that we're trying to work through. Next slide, please. I spoke on this a little bit, but we've spent a lot of time on the hemp distribution side launching our product. We launched about 18 months ago in New Jersey with one distribution last year, and today we're pushing 30 distributions across the country. And the main reason why we've been very successful is we have like 3 legal counsels on, and the number one point right there is labeling hemp versus CBD and the state-by-state compliance. every state has their own regs. So not only do you need to make sure that your label, even though it's a federally somewhat legal, gray area legal product that you can put out into market, every state comes up with their own their own label requirements to actually launch a hemp or CBD product in that state. New Jersey is different than New York. New York just finally passed their final regs of what a hemp beverage or CBD beverage looks like, and of California just passed their law as well. So understanding that you have to have a label on your can that total encompassing when you're launching in 20 or 30 different states is very time consuming, and it's a heavy lift. So we've learned a lot. We are now in 25 states. We are running one label at this point in all 25 states because we took an all-encompassing approach where a lot of the labeling requirements are similar in every state, but there's one that is one-off. So labeling requirements is key. It's actually easier to launch a THC beverage in a state than it is to launch a hemp CBD beverage across the country, because when you're going into a state, you know exactly what the rules and regs are for that THC drink. And on the hemp side, if you're going to go from New Jersey to New York or to Massachusetts, they're all different. So that has been very, very challenging for our team. Next slide, please. What's next? THC. Sorry.
So just one quick question before you move to THC. Are you selling only in single cans, or are you selling like 4 packs?
I'll get to, we're selling in 4 packs as well. I'll get to that in a second. So next slide, please. THC, we've, like I said, we've launched our THC product in Maine, or we're currently launching it right now, and we have the same challenging, right? So state by state issues, we're addressing that, and our goal is to continue launching our THC beverage into states that are adult use across the country, compiled with our hemp drink that is through the beer distribution channel. Next slide, please. So we took the approach that we've launched our hemp product into the beer channel and the spirits channel, and you will find our product at grocery stores, at delis, at restaurants, and then of course we chose to launch a THC drink in those regulated market. What we're working on right now is it's a heavy lift to get dispensaries to understand beverages. So we're applying everything we've learned from a 3-tier system and the marketing and the education, and really educating the dispensary owners, and how do you now have a large section of the store for edibles. For beverages, and not only our brand, for other brands, because I think the market is where we're in this together, and really our competition is not each other. Our competition is the alcohol consumer. That's what it is. When we launched in Rhode Island, we launched with 7 other beverages. When we launched in Connecticut, we launched with 1 beverage. The difference here is the category buyers, the managers, are going to look at a category rather than an individual brand. So when we went into Rhode Island, we want to launch with 5 or 6, because in those liquor stores or whatever store, they're putting a planogram, they're putting a set where you're taking a section of the liquor store, or you're taking a section of a deli or a supermarket. You want competition. We want competition, and we want to do this together, because one brand is not going to be able to move the needle in this industry. Just how you see non-alcoholic beer in a liquor store, now there's becoming CBD and hemp sections in the liquor store. And then on the THC side, we need more brands together, because consumers need choices. There's plenty of choices of edibles on the market, plenty of choices of flower. There has to be all different form factors and all different milligrams dose of beverages in the market for consumers to now start adopting cannabis beverages more than they are today. Next slide, please. Where do we go from here? So there's two things I want to touch on. I think within the next 5 years, we're going to see THC beverages, I'll say THC beverages in the liquor distribution model. It's going to happen. There's going to be one state that's going to take the leap, and you're going to see THC beverages right next to your non-alcoholic sections. So within the next 5 years, those channels are coming together. And I also think over the next 10 years, cannabis beverages are going to take 30, if not more, % out of the alcohol consumer. What I mean by that is that consumer that's drinking a glass of wine, vodka drink, beer, seltzer, is going to trade that drink, which has alcohol in it, has 100 calories, really not good for you, and they're going to move over to a cannabis drink that is 0 to 25 calories. It actually has benefits for you, and there's no hangover, and it has a better, is better for them. So again, taste profile is number one, but if we can do all this together collectively, the growth in cannabis beverages over the next 5 to 10 years are going to be significant. So I'm going to actually open up for any questions, if there are any questions. Yes. Good.
How do you handle distribution in states that don't have the distribution model, that they go through processing and go through growers?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a question.
How do you handle distribution in states like Michigan that don't have a distribution license? So who are you working with in order to go to get your product distributed?
On what side? The hemp CBD or THC side?
The THC side.
Well, the THC side is the same in every state. You would have to find a manufacturer in that state, whatever the regulations allow, and that license would have to manufacture your product and also deliver to the dispensary. We are doing it as a licensing deal, a lot like other brands out there. The one state that we are seed to sale on our hemp side, because we grow our own hemp, we extract our own hemp, so we can ship that across the country. But in New Jersey, we will own the supply of Kalo THC because we will grow, extract it, and bring it to market. But a market like Michigan, Chicago, where Maine is, we're partnering up with a third, someone with a license holder, produce it there, we bring in our IP, and then it goes on their trucks to the dispensary underneath their license. Yes.
Hi, you spoke briefly about trade education. How are you approaching consumer education with your products?
I'm sorry, can you speak up? Sorry.
Sure, you spoke a little bit about trade education. How are you approaching consumer education and product knowledge on that?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So our first focus has been, how do we deal with education at the trade level and the sales, and how do we educate the sales team? But once our product is in store, we now are layering in, how do we educate the consumer on our product, right? All CBD, hemp, THC drinks are not created equal. They're all different, right? There's isolate, there's hemp, there's CBD, so we spend a lot of time, right, through our social channels, through influencers, through just constantly educating, through articles and speaking on it, what is different from our extraction process and what's in our product, because we got to focus on our product, right? At the dispensary level, at the distribution level, we're focusing on the category. How do we educate all these salespeople to go in and sell a category, right? So we're next to another beverage, 4 or 5 different beverages. That's where educating the category. But with our beverage, because it's a little different nuances than what's in the market, we spend a lot of time talking about ours, what's our water solubility, the vitamins, minerals, and all that stuff, constantly. I mean, it's a heavy lift, but it's working. But we're spending a lot of money on marketing just to educate our consumer, who's our consumer, which is 65% female right now. We know that for a fact. And that's the consumer we want. Because really, that's the new customer coming into cannabis, and it's a way of entering in the cannabis drink with a hemp CBD. Is not altering. It's more of a well-being plant-based beverage.
Is your hemp drink labeled as a beverage or a supplement?
Beverage. Yep. Right now, there's certain regulations in states that allow for beverage, and there's a gray area right now. So right now, it's out of beverage. We will change. We are on our 10th label, and we will continue to evolve as every state label requirements changes, and also when the FDA gets their act together and gives some kind of clarity on that. But right now, we are a beverage.
Hey, when you extract with water, is it considered full spectrum or broad, or are you missing any terpene profiles because you're only extracting water soluble?
No, it's a full spectrum. It's a full spectrum extract, and we're pulling everything out. So we're bringing all the terpenes, cannabinoids, antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, everything out of the hemp or the cannabis plant comes out with it. So it's a full spectrum.
So you say you have a proprietary process for that you do different than starting with, say, crude oil or something. Mm-hmm. So do you guys offer that service to other companies that are looking just for that extraction?
At this moment, no. This is our own IP that we're bringing to market. Yes?
I'm curious, the research that people are buying this on the CDE side, that's like, I'm going to grab this and drink it right now, I was at the store, or is this like a habit they're like buying on larger quantities and making it part of the routine?
Yeah, we see, it's an RTD, single use, and our shopper journey has single use. We are selling in a 4-pack. In a variety 4-pack. We have 2 variety 4-packs, then we have a 4-pack with individual flavors. So our philosophy is we want them to buy like the seltzer, like hard seltzers or beer. In cases, in liquor stores, we have 30, 40, 50 cases stacked up right next to White Claw, right next to High Noon. And also you have single serves right by the counter. In supermarkets, we are in the cold box, individual cold box, but we're also in 4-packs on the shelves. So we have rolled out a pricing strategy where we want people to buy a 4-pack, an 8-pack, a case of this product, where it becomes cost effective for them. And of course, we want them to drink it all day long. They can drink it in the morning instead of a coffee after a workout. Right from the first presentation I was here was consumers are using this product in the entire day. Right? And our focus is our hemp CB product, use all day, even at night, and our THC product, use at night. Use it as an adult drink. So we're building the same brand equity on both sides. It's just a different channel, and we're actually bringing both channels together to meet consumers where they're at.